Hello all, welcome back. It's been a little bit, but excited to dive into a topic today that I'm interested in. Kind of two different topics that I see a fairly common thread with. And those topics would be college football playoff is upon us, and AI governance. They don't seem like they would have any similarities whatsoever, right? But I was thinking about it after listening to an interview that was done. And as I'm listening to this gentleman talk about the state of college football today, I thought, that sounds a lot like AI in today's world. So let me make that case. College football has gone through a lot of changes of recent and a lot of upheaval. And I'm not just talking about Notre Dame getting left out of the playoff this year. Let's be honest, grow up and join a conference. But I'm talking about things like the player portal, the transfer portal rather, paying players, really a whole new way of doing things, a whole new economy around college football. And it hasn't really changed the way that teams win, defense, high caliber players scoring more points than the other team, the results on the field, but it's changed every aspect of how you build the actual team and the infrastructure of these organizations. That's the part that I think really interested me as I thought about this kind of comparison between college football structure and the shakeup that's happening in college football structure and kind of what it means when I think of AI governance. So let me just lay out a little bit of the structure of college football. There's no collective bargaining. There's no overarching commissioner to keep order. And the sports ruling body, the NCAA, is toothless is probably the kindest adjective I could give it. Even the playoff scenario that crowns a national champion that we're about to enter into is determined by different athletic directors and former coaches every year. No real defined measurement or metric in place. College football used to be much more binary. You had a scholarship and a recruit decided yes or no to a potential offer of that scholarship. Now the word that gets thrown around a lot with college football is the Wild West, right? Lack of law and unregulated independence. Now you have 19-year-olds negotiating contracts. We have rosters that overturn faster than the Snapchat streak. We have legendary coaches, guys who have been coaching forever and are stalwart names within the sport that are throwing up their hands and just retiring because they just want to coach ball and not manage a whole salary cap and infrastructure. That's where I see the comparison to AI governance. Because to me, the corporate world, the US economy for sure, is currently in the midst of what seems like its own transfer portal, which is generative AI. And just like in college football, the capabilities are changing by the minute, but the measuring stick and the what works aspect of it for your organization seem like they're changing by the minute as well. You have, your vendors, which basically like recruiters, right? Promising the moon. You have your data sources that are drifting. The CEOs are overwhelmed trying to figure out if that new LLM is a future first round pick or a guy that just excels at a certain level and will crumble under the primetime lights of your organizational deployment. The truth is you can't win, whether in college football or in implementing AI systems in your organization, purely based on vibes, intuition, and hustle, which is the main point of my video here. And that's that you need structure. Boring, unsexy structure is actually the ultimate competitive advantage. And the interview that I was listening to or watching that really stirred this connection in my head. It was a fantastic interview on the McShay Show with Jake Rosenberg, who's a former Philadelphia Eagles VP and founder of an organization called the Athletic Group. They go into universities, specifically within the athletic department, specifically within the football portion of that, and try to present structure to handle all this changing landscape. Their notable clients of late have been the Oklahoma Sooners, Boomer Sooners, and real recently the Florida Gators. They've worked with other, I think about 8 clients or universities as well. And really what they're going in to do is to provide that structure. And some organizations or universities have just instituted this kind of on their own or with the help of other guidance or groups. But a few things that he said really stuck out to me, and its application within AI governance as well as college football structure. He said that just spending money, and a lot of money, doesn't mean you're going to have winning results or even the anticipated results. That's a matter of strategy and process. It's about making the best use of the dollars and resources that are available to you. So you might have people that are great at something that have a whole bunch of additional roles, responsibilities, concerns, processes within this new economy, within this new ecosystem, and that just aren't able to do it all. And Rosenberg has gone on to say that I think there's enormous advantages in structure, in operation, in scouting, decision-making, all of those areas, in addition to how to more effectively pay players and correlate that to their skill and role. He said, I think there are significant advantages in every level. I think there are advantages into how to outthink, outstructure, and outhire. All those things can be huge. It really kind of stirred in my mind a couple of principles or a couple of truths perhaps about how structure is advantageous, how it can be beneficial. Again, none of us are probably being tasked with this in the college football world. Would love to be honest. But specifically how this relates to instituting AI systems or tools or chatbots or just whatever your company and organization might be utilizing or thinking about utilizing AI within your operational structure, and how to have that structure in place ahead of time, but also something that accommodates the ever-changing nature of that field. The first thing I think that's important to think about is the difference between evaluation and valuation, which is talked a lot about in college football circles or in sports in general. Evaluation is answering the question, is this player or product good? That's evaluation. Valuation is answering the question, is this player worth what he costs for our specific system? In college football, everyone knows the 5-star quarterback is talented. He can throw the ball a mile, but if that quarterback costs, $2 million in NIL money, and your team is built on a completely different offense and a stifling defense, paying him means that you can't afford the linebackers that you need to actually win within your system, within your structure. That's an example of the failure in valuation. The only way that you can make that determination is by knowing the structure and the dedicated resources of your organization. Now, look at AI. Most companies, I would say, are stuck in the evaluation phase. Like, wow, look at this model. It writes poetry. Look at this tool. It saves me hours a day, which is awesome. But my question to organizations would be, where is the valuation? Does the cost of running this exhaust all of your margin in that area? Does the risk of a hallucinating, non-existent legal precedent expose you to a lawsuit? Does it actually solve a problem you have, or is it just a shiny new toy? And without a general manager or an AI governance leader, council, something of that regard, you are just a fan with a checkbook. You're buying hype, but not wins. You need a structure that informs your risk appetite, your risk tolerance, and if this tool, model, etc. properly aligns with your organization and the industries you serve or receive from. And that leads me to my second point on this, which again, I'm taking from the kind of changes in college football. And that's that the most difficult part of instituting this structure is going to be relinquishing control. So the leader, the person at the head of your security, your privacy, your data, whatever it might be, already has a full-time job, already has full-time work. And if you expect them to take on manually vetting every single AI tool your employees might find on the internet, that's setting them up to fail. They are or will be drowning in work. So what you need to do is expand or include the infrastructure. In football, the winning teams have built front offices or some version of it. They have a GM or a board of directors that handles roster construction, the budget, and the portal, and that frees the coach up to do the thing they are best at, which is coaching football, leading the team. In AI, I think you need some form of an AI management system. There's definitely ISO 42001, there's the NIST AI RMF, and the Cyber AI portal that NIST is creating as well. This can serve as the foundational elements of your quote unquote front office. The system handles all the off the field stuff like policy. What are we allowed to use? Inventory. What models or tools or systems are in use, are currently running? And then risk assessment. Is this data safe and how do we know? What have we done to evaluate our system, our models, and the impacts that they have in our organization and to our customer base at large? And one counter argument that often gets brought up when thinking about AI governance is the idea that it'll slow down progress. It'll slow down innovation. I've seen the analogy used, and I do kind of like it, that AI governance is a seatbelt, not a brake. It's the path that allows you to run forward, to progress, to develop, whatever it might be. It's the thing that keeps that all in line, and specifically aligned with your organization, aligned with security, aligned with compliance, and aligned with where you're going. That's what the structure does. The structure is not something that you just bolt on top of your operations, but it rather helps realign your operations and the systems you're using, these AI tools, these AI models, the systems that you or your employees are using on a day-to-day or weekly basis. This helps frame all of that to accomplish your goal without any major or disastrous outcomes that frankly could be avoided. The third comparison that I wanted to bring up is navigating the portal. In college football, the transfer portal, your best player could leave tomorrow. And there are a lot of situations and there are a lot of circumstances that are completely outside of your control. And that relates perfectly to our current world of AI and implementation of AI within an organization. The AI market means your favorite model could be depreciated. In both worlds, retention and provenance are the key factors. If you're building an AI strategy, you need to treat your data sources like your high-end recruits. You need to know, where did this come from? Who coached it before it got here? What was it trained on? How does its previous performance project within our system and operations? Like, what are we anticipating based on where it's been? You need data provenance. What systems were they in? What tools or routines did they use to improve themselves? Are they trustworthy? In the college football world, were they a positive or a negative in the locker room or in the community? In AI, you need to know that the model you're basing your customer service on wasn't trained on Reddit threats, social media posts, conspiracy theories, etc. Without some form of management system in place, you quickly run into misalignment, being misled, and avoidable disastrous outcomes. And somewhere along the line, someone uttering the phrase, "but I thought this was a safe bet." That's where I look at and I say both of these things are trying to avoid that. In the college football world and with AI in the corporate world, both instances, you are trying to manage and control chaos to keep your organization headed the right way. Which leads me to my final point. The bottom line is that structure is a foundational element of strategy. I know, governance, management systems, like so uncool, Cam. But that's why this comparison clicked so much in my head. When the college football playoffs start this weekend and going into January to crown a national champion in college football, no one is going to be talking about the structure that provided these teams to be what they are, but they were an imperative part of the things that we will watch play out on the field. There's been coaches and college teams that have said, we aren't going to engage with this new chaos. We're not touching it. And those programs have been left behind. They're not competing in the playoff this year. And in fact, they have quite the uphill climb to try to reach that echelon of teams that are vying for the top goal. Meanwhile, let me list teams that have either instituted a GM structure in place or a distributed, like director model type of organizational structure for their football teams. Alabama, Ole Miss, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Oregon, Texas Tech, and to maybe a slightly smaller degree, Georgia and Texas A&M. Do you know what they all have in common? Starting this weekend, they are all competing for a chance at the national championship. I'll say it again. Structure is strategy. It's not the thing that people see. It's not the thing that people sell. It's not the thing that gets the bright lights, but it is the thing that makes those things possible, and specifically that makes those things repeatable. That's the challenge that I see with AI today. You can view AI governance as red tape. You can view frameworks like what NIST is doing, what ISO has done with 42001 and others as a headache. You can view those things as halting your forward direction, or you can view it as the structure and guidance that your team needs to build a repeatable winning product on the field. Build or realign your front office, establish the structure around your organization that includes the chaos that is AI. So your team can fully focus on making game-changing plays, and your visionary leaders, they can just go out and coach ball.